doing experiments and designing and coming up with a good product. So then that's why basically that interest started when I was still in, I would say, high school. So well, there I would say I can say at least three reasons. Well, number one, uh, it's an industry where I can say it's really a staple industry. Conversion is staple because if you come to think of it, those server farms of Google and maybe Facebook, IBM requires power. Even your high-tech iPhone or even your iWatch requires power. So everywhere you require power, no? Meaning your DSP won't run if you don't have power. Okay? So in other words, there's really a lot of opportunity. There's a big opportunity when you are into power conversion. Okay? And number two, I think this is one of those fields, no, particularly in electrical engineering, which I can say na it's very challenging. You really have to know what you're doing. Okay? Otherwise, masasabugan ka in your face. And I know that you know that. Meaning you can't do just any trial and error, delete lines of code, assemble or what's this, rerun, then you can tweak your design like that, no, trial and error. Here you cannot do it like that always. You have to have a basic understanding of how your design works, and what you're doing is not catastrophic, basically. So that's an added interest for me. Third, I think my inspiration started in when I was, you see, back in college kasi in UP, I had a thesis partner. His name is Lawrence Tan. We proposed that okay, we'll come up with a variable power supply. It's like a bench power supply. Okay, na variable output. We can set the current, we can set the voltage, pero fully digitally controlled yung converter, yung main converter. So imagine at that time, hindi pa gumagawa yung Aztec nung digital control. But it was very simple, of course, voltage mode as opposed to current mode, because we were basically limited also by the microcontroller pa lang gamit namin nun. So it was very challenging kasi we had to do the front end na PFC, that's a standalone block, no? And then the main converter, it's a flyback. I-control namin yun. So it's a 0 to 30 volt output, 0 to 10 amps. Might sound simple, but the main control of the yung converter is the microcontroller. It was very challenging kasi syempre nasasabugan kami. Alam mo yun, magka-halfway, we have this halfway point. Hindi pa gumagana yung PWM nung yung magpapalabas ka lang ng PWM signal. Alam mo yun. And or part of the, you're familiar also, merong auxiliary na block. Kailangan mapagana ko yung halfway point. So it was really very challenging kasi at that time we didn't know kung matatapos namin. And even until the final presentation, we had the blocks working, pero yung full integration hindi pa talaga solid. Yung platinum and titanium na efficiency, AC-DC conversion, yung climate savers na platinum efficiency. That's actually, that platform is used in what we have now, yung 12G, right? And a lot of, that's a huge volume, right, for Dell customer. And beyond that, yung titanium, imagine titanium, it's peak 96%. That's AC to DC conversion. That's a lot. No, that's really high because you're just throwing away 4%. So 4% losses lang yun, and that's distributed dun sa entire power supply, and that's really, really tight. I mean, you have to optimize every bit of circuit there to minimize the losses. And we did that. Collaborations I did when I was still teaching in the university. So there's this program which you call under the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science. It's a general exchange program. So what you do is you are a faculty here in the Philippines, no? So at that time I was a faculty in University of the Philippines in electrical and electronics engineering department. So what I did was, for you to avail of that funding, you will have to contact a host professor, host university in Japan. So I got hold of this. There's this professor sa Osaka University, and I was interested in his research. And it was on silicon carbide Schottky. At that time, they're new yung silicon carbide Schottky diodes. And my interest was on the application for that, no, since my field is in power electronics. So I contacted the professor, and cut the long story short, he basically agreed to host me for, I think, for about a month, so in Osaka University, and we did the research together, and that research also paved the way for my master's thesis, which is on this on the characterization of silicon carbide Schottky diodes in applications, in power electronics applications. Entrepreneurship, I would say, yes, I did have. It's more like a backyard engineering, no? Yung parang, we did this. We came up with the idea that it's more like a subcontract kind of arrangement. So we do have local industries kasi I think in this particular in our particular entrepreneurship activity, it was, we did a subcontract for that was Webcast Technologies. It's under E. Lopez Group. One of the highs is, of course, you are at home. You feel at home. You are closer to your family and friends, and it's very important. You have a support system here. And then also, if you're familiar with your, with the industry that they were where you're working, it's a very big advantage because you're basically comfortable. I'm not saying that you become a comfort zoner, but you're comfortable enough to take risks and to drive yourself and to drive hard yung goals mo, no, when you're here. Syempre, the other, of course, one of the important highs is that the culture is different. Here, masaya yung mga tao eh. Kahit na traffic, kahit na you're caught in traffic, kahit na mainit, nakangiti pa rin yung mga tao. Trip ka, makukuha mo pa rin tumawa. But generally speaking, ang low talaga sa Philippines is, of course, the compensation. You cannot easily save when you're here. So so it's the financial aspect, I think, is the low part. So if I recall, even when I came back, I took a huge pay cut. I mean, it's a career step. It's angat. Pero I mean, di ba, when I came back, I was in HP, I was a senior engineer, no? So when I came back, I managed a team, so team supervisor, no, advanced platform team. But I took a pay cut. That's a significant pay cut that, I had to decide because I want to come back. The job is perfect for me at that time. I thought I can do a lot of things, and I did. I mean, when I was there. But yun yung trade-off. The pay cut is a huge trade-off. There are like I'm not sure if it's still existing. I would think it is. That promote scholarships and even yung mga parang research. I don't know. If you're working in the university and you're in, let's say, engineering, there's what you call, I think, if I remember correctly, ERDFI. So it's Engineering Research and Development Foundation. For my case, I experienced that when I was a faculty in UP. I did sort of an immersion program here in Aztec in Emerson at the time. So there are opportunities out there. I think I would say generally we have to strengthen yung university and industry collaboration. The I would say kasi yung mga malalalim na problems in the industry, let's say malalim, one that takes a huge amount of research and it's a very specific problem. It has to be, kumbaga, the university has to be actively involved. Yung research arm ba na in the particular field na parang, you have to spearhead the research part. And if the collaboration is in place, like all the non-disclosure agreement is in place, then I think the engineers and the professors and university folks can work together. If there's a good collaboration, yun nga lang, all those paperwork, all the NDAs have to be in place. Magkakaroon ng sharing of knowledge and I think that would enhance yung mga para mapabuti yung industry naman. If you are working for a multinational company, you're basically tied up to that. All your efforts to invent, come up with a good design, all those knowledge are actually the property of the company. Or you're working for a multinational company, then I think as a Filipino, the best you can do is to really exert the effort to learn as much as you can in your industry, and then whatever your learning is, you can share it in venues like if you can go back to the university and teach as a part-time lecturer, that's one. Or also of course, kasi if you do well, if the design center in the Philippines does well, then it will be recognized, no? It will be recognized by other counterparts of your multinational company, not in yet working for a particular company, but you are into the backyard engineering, alam mo yung backyard parang ganun engineering stuff like what we did for back then. That's a big opportunity there to influence, to have a contribution, no? If let's say if your product hits the market, if your product is a hit, then that's where you can have an impact. So I know a few guys in back in the university na talagang interesado na alam mo yung they invest money, they invest time. Meron sila mga startup, may mga venture na ganon. Well, number one, it's really a challenging task because you're managing smart people. When you manage smart people, you would think na madali lang kasi smart people naman, madaling utusan or madaling sabihan, they can follow instructions. But see, the thing is, hindi mo lang sila pwedeng utusan for long because smart people think, right? So you have to make sure that you make sense. I'd say as a manager, your decisions have to be logical, have to be properly, have to be explained, bakit ganito ganyan, meron ka bang diskarte, and does your call make sense? Parang ganun, technically, on a technical perspective, on a technical standpoint, does it make sense? So that's the key challenge, no? You have to be smart enough na your engineers or the engineers under you will follow you kasi tama, it makes sense na we do it this way, that way. Bakit ganito yung design call niya, parang ganito, ba't dito tayo pupunta? Okay, so that's one. The other aspect siguro na managing engineers in general, Filipino engineers, we usually are focusing on ito yung gagawin ko, to, gagalingan ko to pag-design. But the aspect of cost optimizing is not kumbaga it's not, walang attention gaano dun sa optimizing the cost. Which is very important, equally important than making your electrical design robust and work. Yeah. So of course, if it's expensive, you cannot sell it. Nobody will buy it. Pupunta sa cost competitor. Okay. So that's something we need to inculcate. I think the other is, I would say this is a very Filipino trait, no? Relatively compared to other cultures. Ang Pinoy kasi is sanay na, take it in. I think it's an Asian thing, not just Filipino. Alam mo yun, na even if meron kang parang nakikitang mali sa sistema, something that you can work on to improve, pero kung status quo, we maintain status quo, we don't question it, which is a very, very counterproductive mindset. So sometimes, when I deal with different engineers, nilalagay ko yun at the back of my mind na, okay, ito, nahihiya itong sabihin, or alam mo yun, ayaw mag-open up, pero sa ibang venue mag-open up. So I pay a lot of attention on that, no? Kasi it varies from one person to another, but it's a prevailing cultural thing, no? Na yung Pinoy kasi, sige, hindi ako magreklamo, titiisin ko to, I'll probably do work around, ganyan. Okay, so mahirap siya kasi you are really not talking about the actual problem. Okay, whether it's in workplace or in some of your processes or systems in place, may palya pala doon, may flaw. But then, sige, okay lang, masasanay tayo dito. So that's a Pinoy trait. Okay, you have to be vocal. I would think na it's rarely equal, alam mo yun, equal footing yung nagko-collaborate. It could be somebody na, for example, okay, industry and university nga, pero ang may final say is yung industry. Okay, of course, because they have the money, I mean, they're the one infusing money. Okay, so I think in that respect, as long as the expectations are properly set, what you define what you get out of it, okay, what the other party gets out of it, and then of course when it comes to patents and non-disclosure agreements, kailangang properly drawn din yung line, no? Like for example, if you're the guy who thought about it, but you're not belonging to the industry, you're belonging, for example, to, this is an example between, let's say, university and industry collaboration. Of course, you should set your kumbaga agreement na, if I'm the inventor, what do I get out of this? Hindi yung tipong 100% owned by the company or the industry. Okay? Make good use of yung mga even in yung mga scenario na alam mo yung mga even the university itself, no, meron, if you have, let's say there's a particular learning session or a lecture and you make it available in video, so those things, if you put it, let's say, in a particular repository, people can access it. So off-site, parang ganun. Let's say, for our case kasi, we do have the expertise and the experience here. This is a design center. So, every engineer gets to work here. We'll have the skill, we'll develop the skill, we'll have the learning. So, it's a good playground, no, to learn. And having that, as long as we retain our talents, we don't have people living for US, Europe, or somewhere in Asia na mas mataas ang sweldo. It's very important that we retain those people. So if we get to do that, then we have a parang we have a parang gene pool ba, we have a rich, we have a population na of really good and experienced engineers na working in the country. Di ba? We don't have what they call brain drain, no? And with those people, those are the people who can, pioneer research and development activities. One important thing that we need to guard against is yung talented engineers and technologies going out of the country. That's basically what we need to work on first, and then secondly, once we have those people here, how can we attract funding? Parang ganun. Okay, so there has to be a program for that, no? Yung para bang, kumbaga yung mga startup ba, supporting startup, and it should be, if it's government mandated program, it has to be managed well, na walang politika, walang under the table, na whoever is worth it, whoever is worthy of the funding should get it, parang ganun.